I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
And this is We Watch Dream Movies.
Alistair MacLean, author of The Guns of Navarone and Where Eagles Dare, brings us Detonator, starring Pierce Brosnan of Livewire and The Lawnmower Man, Patrick Stewart of Star Trek The Next Generation, also starring Alexandra Paul of Sunset Grill and Stephen King's Christine, Ted Levine of Silence of the Lambs and Nowhere to Run, and Christopher Lee from Man with a Golden Gun and An Eye for an Eye. Get ready to be blown away.
All right, so this is We Watch Movies, and this week's movie is Detonator.
I don't even know if that's a good name for this movie.
Well, it's one of two names, and it depends on which region you were in when it came out and which DVD you might happen to have and various things, because it was also titled Death Train.
Well, like, I know this is based off of a book that's called Death Train, and I kind of like that name better because they're worried about the bomb on the train exploding, and obviously that would be like a death train, but they weren't too worried about the detonator until like much later, and it's just like, well, it can be remote detonated. It's like, oh, we'll worry about that later.
It's
like,
detonator's
what the
a big enough
fuck?
deal. It's in the title, but it's like not a big deal for most of the movie.
Well, I will say, for anyone who has not watched the trailer, watch the trailer. The trailer is next step hilarious for how bad it makes this movie look. Like, it does. It makes this movie look terrible. Now, we'll get to that part a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and say it. The movie is better than the trailer makes it look. It is. Like, it's not a great movie, no, but it is definitely better than what the trailer shows us.
Yeah, but that trailer is I mean, that's the reason we knew this existed at all.
Yeah,
was because I just sort of happened across the trailer and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I want to watch this because this is so terrible. And it's like, I mean, in the trailer, it's like, and Pierce Brosnan of The Lawnmower Man. And you're like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, this is 1993. He wasn't James Bond yet.
I will say, like, I'm gonna go ahead and give like a tiny little thing. It's like, by the end of this movie, it's just like all I could think of was, dude, Scaramanga was behind it all, and Captain Picard was trying to stop him, and it wasn't even a real bomb.
Yeah,
and it's like
I mean, that's way at the end, but like, how do you feel about that? The dude's like, only one bomb. Like,
that's
what?
Like, I thought it was kind of like cheap. You know, there's like the dude and he's died, and it's like, well, he's supposed to be really good at this, so he made two, and he even said he made two, and then like the second one was fake, and it's just like, this is cheating, and it's not even the good kind of cheating. This is the cheating that makes me like go, fuck this movie, and flip a table and then walk out of the theater while pissing on the carpet. And like, I
don't know why you have a table in the theater.
I don't see him trying to stop me. It's not a video camera.
Yeah.
You know, I need to do that once. I just need like a little folding table and just carry it in there with me. Excuse me, sir, what's the table for? Sometimes I need to prop my foot up. Now I can put it on top of the table, or I can put it up your ass. Which one would you like, son? Let's see how they like that.
Depending on how this movie turns out, there might be some flipping needed. And I want to be ready for that.
Just in case.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off with like, what is, and I've got some of it here, what is that narration at the beginning where like he tells like all of this information that even in the movie they don't even find out half of until like the very end?
Yeah, like a lot of, it's just like, it was a poor use of narrative. Like, that's what it was. It's like they just wanted to hear Patrick Stewart's voice.
Yeah. I mean,
he has a nice voice. But yeah, but it's
like, what is this information? Like aren't you kind of giving away a lot right away?
Well, it's like they paid him to do the intro, and it was bullshit. They could have paid him to read a book to us, and we could have been like, oh, this is so amazing. Patrick Stewart's voice is great. He's reading us a book. But no, they were like, okay, we're going to have him tell you stuff that no one else in the movie knows. Because, like, everyone that does know is, like, dead or going to die, and they'll never say it.
Yeah. I mean, because he's just like...
plutonium.
And it's like, really? I mean, I mean, I'm not sure whether I like that better or
Plutonium!
I mean, it's kind of a different context, but I mean, well, here's
Plutonium, the key ingredient in nuclear bombs. This plutonium was stolen, gram by deadly gram.
it's so dramatic.
Yeah, like
Deadly gram. It's like, how do we never find out where you got the plutonium?
United Nations Anti-Crime Organization responds to nuclear
Oh, and make sure we know
terrorism.
what the acronym means of the organization.
When Carl Leitzig, a German physicist, used this stolen plutonium
Stolen.
to construct 2 nuclear bombs,
Bombs.
his creations became UNATCO's nightmare. Dr. Leitzig's gadgets, as we call them, utilized components smuggled out of the former Soviet Union.
Really?
Highly restricted components
Restricted.
supplied by a renegade Russian general and assembled under his supervision with the utmost German craftsmanship. You
Right.
see, the Russian general
It's a Mercedes.
needed 2 bombs to change the course of world events, and Dr. Leitzig needed a job. It was the ideal partnership until
Got 9. I am irradiated. Your neutron gun, I was testing it and it ruptured.
And the bomb?
What about it?
So, doesn't he need that for the second
that is how
bomb?
Saruman went to the dark side.
I mean,
Yes, I said dark side.
yeah. But it's just, there's just like so much in the beginning of that. It's just like, and it's so overwritten. He's like, the stolen plutonium. And it's like, yeah.
They're just like, I have been radiated. Like that business. Like, yeah. I mean, like, okay, I love Christopher Lee. Like, everything he's in, he's, like, super good at. But that's the thing is, like, I've never seen him play not a bad guy.
No, because in that he's a bad guy. He's Scaramanga in Man with the Golden Gun. He's Count Dooku. I'm sure there's something. I mean, he's been acting for a really long time. I'm sure he's played not a bad guy, but it's, yeah.
Well, like
he does a good job at a bad guy, so I guess that's why he shows up so many times like that.
Well, like the Golden Compass, he plays, like, First High Counselor. And, like, everybody in the movie that's not the bear, Tom Selleck, and the little girl and her pet thing, like, everybody else is a bad guy.
Yeah.
You're like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, he plays Dr. Wonka.
What?
Yeah, that's what it says. Like the 2005, like the remake, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it says Dr. Wonka.
I have no idea what character that is.
Yeah, neither do I, but it's like...
I don't remember that at all. I mean, I like the guy, Ted Levine, who you never really see. He's always like that sort of second tier guy in a movie. Like he's one of the bad guy, one of the henchmen guys in Flubber, and he's always something like that. He's almost, and he's like that in here too. Even though he's the first bad guy we see, he's still sort of a henchman type.
Well, that's the thing is, I liked him more than I liked Pierce Brosnan. It's because it's just like
Pierce Brosnan is doing this terrible Southern accent.
Yeah.
And
like he even starts off that way.
Why would you do that? Why would you cast Pierce Brosnan if you're not going to let him have his accent?
Well, the problem is, like, they make it like they even go out and say, it's like, is that bluegrass I hear in your voice?
Yeah, like he used to be English.
Yeah,
but
it's... Because, like, he starts off with it, and then he just stops using it. Like... You can be in, like, Kentucky and not have a Kentucky-based accent, and, like, they might look at you and be like, you sound like you're not from around here. But if you live there long enough working on motorcycles because you're going to be in, whatever, Daytona, like, it's not going to matter because they're like, oh, that's just the guy who does motorcycle stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that he didn't run over the rabbit, like, what the fuck was that about? Because, like, that never came back to be like, oh, he does good things.
No,
like,
I think it was just to give him he had that line about rabbit roadkill or something, and they tried to make a clever thing out of it. I think that must have been all it was about. But it was kind of strange because it's like, what is this rabbit like twice when he comes around the track and almost crashes because of, and it does, yeah, it never comes to anything.
Yeah.
I thought at first that he was supposed to be undercover or something, and that's why he was using an accent, but he apparently was trying to not be doing that anymore.
Well, I couldn't even like that's the thing is I'm not going to say I like Pierce Brosnan. Brosnan. I'm not going to say I like Pierce Brosnan as a actor because I really don't care for him either way. I'm not going to say, oh, I like him. I'm not going to say I dislike him. It's just I don't care about him. And this movie is just another example of me not caring about him. Like they could have had just about anybody else play this role and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. I mean, and it's still it's pre James Bond, but he had been Remington Steele for several years before this. So I guess it's like, hey, he's like an action guy already, so we'll get him. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, really, no. I mean, Patrick Stewart is acting as hard as he can, like he always does. He just doesn't belong in this movie. Like, what is he doing in this movie? He's too good for this movie.
He is too good for this movie, but I don't know. It's like he would be too good for it now, but I don't know. Like back in 1993, even the trailer like only mentioned him from The Next Generation. They didn't say anything else he was in. And I know between then and now, like he's been in a ton of things. So it's like, yeah, everybody knows of Patrick Stewart, but it's just, I guess there wasn't quite that big step forward at this moment that threw him onto the map of being like a top rated star.
I guess, but this is 1993. This is, I don't even know when he would have been able to do this. He must have done it like in between seasons of like the next to last and last season of Next Generation would have been when this was shot. And I don't like, what is he doing this during that time? And well, he hadn't done anything except for The Next Generation. That was the first thing that he had done in the US. He had done some things in England, and he had done a lot of theater, particularly in England, but he hadn't done any other movies or TV in the US. But it's still just, it's like a strange thing for him to be in, even if, because it's not like somebody said, hey, why don't we get Patrick Stewart? He still had to agree to do it. It still just seems kind of strange.
Well, it says that he has a lot of, I guess, acting background on him starting from 1964. And it's just like every few years it'd tack something else on. And they say they're TV series, TV movies. But before he started playing Picard in 1987, what does that says? 87? Yeah. 1987 to 1994. He played in one of my favorite movies before he even did that. And it's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. He voice acted in that film before he became Picard.
Yes. Which actually I think is part of the reason he was cast, because I think somebody heard that and was like, that guy.
Yeah, I mean, because like that is one of my top favorite movies, and yeah, like I love his voice in it because like the character of the role, like it fit him for his voice, and it just keeps on. But in the 1993 when Detonator was at least released, he was still in Gunman, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. He played King Richard. But then again, like he's probably like, playing King Richard, he's only like one or two scenes, so not a lot of work to be involved.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have to agree. Patrick Stewart is an amazing actor and too good for this film, but too good for it now.
Well, he's too big for it now, but he was still too good an actor for what this movie requires, even at the time. I'm trying to think. I didn't actually write that much during this because I have Kentucky Rabbit, which was the first thing.
Well,
And
that's
then
something else. It's like, okay. So you have the goofy ass rabbit, but you have his motorcycle racing. And once again, why do they put so much emphasis on the motorcycle racing when the only other thing they had for that was when they were in the middle of an assignment on the TV, just so happened to be like a Daytona kind of
Well, it
race
was the
thing.
race he would have been in if
It's
he
like-
hadn't been gotten called in.
But they're like in another country. Like, how is
they're
he
in
watching that?
Germany, I think. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I guess it's a big race. It's probably, you can probably get it wherever you happen to be. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not for anything. It's just because he never has to drive motorcycles or anything on the mission. It's probably just, it's 1993 and hey, look, motorcycle racing. That'll be cool. And it's probably not for anything, but just that they thought it would be exciting or something, or it's just a cool way to introduce him because you don't know who it is. And then he drives up and takes the helmet off but yeah, it doesn't come to anything.
Yeah. There's that. And then one of the things that I had noticed that I couldn't help but to laugh was the Pepsi bottle.
Oh,
just
yeah.
so perfectly held so we could see that label.
For a long time, because he's like holding it while he's on the phone or something, and he's just holding it perfectly still. Yeah.
Well, I will say, like, at least the cameraman did a good enough job to kind of pan up just a little bit so we could just see the top part of the label. So it's like we saw the blue label, but we didn't have to continuously read Pepsi at the bottom of the screen. It's like, thank you, cameraman. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you've read it by now.
Yep.
We'll move on. When he kills the first hostage, like he goes and it's like a fat guy and he says, come on, you should have had a coronary already. Like you can be the first one to get shot. I'm like, well, that's kind of mean.
Well,
Like,
he's supposed to be mean. He's supposed to be the bad guy. He's supposed
I know,
to,
but it's just like,
we're supposed to not like him. And then when he gets shot with the camera gun, it's just like, yay, he's dead. And then more shit hits the fan.
yeah, that's in the trailer though. They show that in the trailer, him getting shot in the head. You don't see it's from the camera, but you see him get shot. But and there's another thing that he doesn't say it as an insult, but because he's British and the way, like, if you just change the tone of it a little bit, it sounds like you could insult someone that way. Is the whatever her name is, Sabrina? She says like keeps begging Patrick Stewart to come on the mission. And then he finally decides to let her, and she's like, really? What? And then he's like way across the room, and he says, get packed. And it's just like, he says it like, you know, like, you better get ready. But if you could just say, why don't you just get packed? Like, it just sounds like you could make an insult out of it if you wanted to. Because they have this whole, and this is before that. Actually, wouldn't it be amazing if somebody at Bungie watched this and that's where the Chief Cortana thing came from? Because they have they're supposed to, she's going to fire a grenade, a gas grenade into the train. And she says to Patrick Stewart, what if I miss? And he says, you can't. And it's just like, what if you miss? I won't. And it's just like, it's so the Halo 2 trailer. And
I thought the same thing. You know, like, okay, I would not have remembered that at all if it was not for the whole massive advertisement scheme Microsoft is doing to show off like all the remastered stuff for the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
And every movie that I have seen in the past like 2 months has always opened up with that trailer, where it's like all of like the remastered high def, you know, great cinematic scenes from Halo 2.
Yeah,
and
well, because 2 is the one we
always,
haven't seen yet, because we already got the 1 anniversary a couple of years ago, and they didn't do much to 3, so 2 is the one people really were after.
Yeah, and it's this thing, like, they always have that line in it. Like, that line is in that trailer.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, God. Yeah. Space Pickle.
Yes.
I will say, at least for a train movie, I liked the train because it was super short. So we didn't have to like see like, okay, I'm going to get on the back of the train and I'm going to walk all the way to the front, dodging obstacles that so happen to randomly show up perfectly so we can watch it.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, it's like
there's two cars.
It's like, nope, it's just a little old train. You know, it's like stand on the front, see the back, no problem. And those fuckers, like in the helicopter, it's like, get closer so he can get on the rope ladder. And they're just
he's getting shot at through the roof of the car, and they're just like, no, like really, like hurry up.
You know, it's just like, it's like all I could think of was like, if that was me, if I did live, there would be tons of cursing and someone would get shot in the knee. Someone would get shot in the knee because damn it, I'm being shot at. Get me that damn ladder. And the editing, like all that weird, because there was a section where all the editing was really weird. Because like every time someone would make like a hard, loud motion, they would cut on it. And and like the most notable one is like you have like Patrick Stewart and he goes to slam his arm down. And when he's slammed, like you don't see it or hear it because it's replaced with the with that Alex guy in the train and he's doing some shit.
Yeah. Didn't it actually didn't it wipe from the top even when he did that?
Yep, because it followed his arm down.
It's like, wow, how is that for your transition? But it's strange because it is only sort of that middle period of time where they do that kind of stuff, and they don't really do it any other time before or after.
You know, because they don't cut on any of the shooting, anything loud at the beginning or the end. It's just that middle part when, you know, it's really obnoxious.
Yeah, it kind of is. There is no reason why they would need gas masks from the grenade from the hill where they're shooting it from.
Yeah. Well, okay, I can see like them having them just in case, but there was no reason for them to put them on because it's, you know, it's like you don't need it on until it's like, oh shit, like it's malfunctioning and going off in front of us. Go ahead and put the gas mask on so we can get out of here. But it's like you're not firing it expecting it to fail. You should be expecting your gear to be fully operational and it to work.
Yeah, and there's the guy. Now, was the guy that ran back for his and sort of tipped off the whole thing, was he the guy that was in on it?
I have no idea. Like, I don't remember like that part, you know, like the people, because it didn't have like that conspiracy traitor part to it yet. It wasn't until later when there was like a phone call and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to cut the track in Italy and do that business. And that's when the tip was.
Yeah. So, well, that's something else. Is it just like, okay, so you cut the track in a standard length that could be easily repaired.
Yeah, like that was ridiculous.
Because they don't see it ahead of time. They just like, oh, here's some stuff in the yard. We'll just pick up a couple different ones, and it's exactly that size.
Well, you know, I guess. But while I'm thinking about it, like it kind of makes sense because even though like they're having to dismantle the rail to prevent the train from going ahead, but I can only think that the reason why they would do it is so afterwards they could fix it easy. You know, it'd be like an easy fix. You know, it's like, okay, well, all we got to do is, just put it back down and, you know, use the normal clamps to hold it in place. But at the same time, you'd think that if the train didn't stop, it would just crash and mess up a lot of the railing ahead of it. So it's you're going to have a mess anyway. Like one way or another, it's just like, I can kind of see why they would want to do that. But at the same time, either way, it wouldn't make sense. Just go ahead and like chop it up.
Yeah, because it just made it just so easy. I mean, they have a mercenary database. It's just like, check the mercenary database. It's like they have all these like independent things that is like, oh, well, we forgot to check that one when we were cross-checking everything for the ID of this guy.
But why?
I don't know.
It's like they made like a big deal about it. It's just like, these are mercenaries, so what? Those people exist.
Yeah. And wouldn't that have been like one of the things you might have thought of anyway? It's like some dude hijacked a thing. Well, check. the people that would be likely to do that sort of thing.
It's like, this guy doesn't sound European of any kind. Maybe he's not from that country. Well, what kind of person would want to do that? A terrorist, or maybe a mercenary getting hired?
Yeah. And it's not even just like they don't think of it independently. Just, Pierce Brosnan is like, I think I know this guy. I think we served with him in such and such a place. And it's like, really? That's a big, like, how? I guess there aren't that many mercenaries in the world, maybe. So, but it's just, it's
I don't know
really
if that's
convenient.
Yeah, like, I don't really know if that's a good enough excuse, though.
No, it's really not. And the news, like, every time they show the news, like, those anchors are the most boring news anchors. Like, they're just like, and the news, and today we saw the train is coming, and they're just completely blank faced, and they're speaking like a little bit too slow, and there's no expression or anything. It's just like, this is like dull. I know it's the news, but
the thing is, it gets me is like, it's like foreign news in English.
Yeah. Well, it's GNN. It's the Global News Network.
Okay. I guess, because, you know, I do see Global News come on like on Saturdays in the break room. So it's in English. Well, some of it's in English. Some of it's like in the language, and it's got like another person speaking English over it. So you have to like focus on it to understand anything that's being said.
Yeah, because you can still kind of hear both.
Yeah.
And this is 1993. And so they sneak on to the train at the end as news people, and with the gun inside the camera, and they're going live from the train with just a camera and like no other equipment. No, I mean, now you could do it with like a what is it? A live, is it Live View? Is that the company? One of the companies? There's several different ones, but it's just like a backpack with cell cards in it, and you can, if you can't use microwave or satellite, you can do it that way. But they're not doing that. It's just a camera, and they're on a moving train, and it's like, we're live on the air from inside the train. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Well, I don't really think anybody paid attention to it, because it's supposed to be, it's like, okay, well, I want this guy who's supposed to be a famous news anchor, and I want him on the train now. And so like we as the audience are supposed to already assume that they're supposed to be on the air. But you know, it's like, this the thing. It's like, okay, so he's rolling, and like no one ever checked the video feed to see if he really was, because we never.
No, but they really were.
Well, that's
they
the thing.
Showed
it's like,
it from the outside. They really were.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the only TV I remember it playing on was in like the main office where Patrick Stewart's character was, and then like he had seen it.
No, because they have the technical difficulties screen on after he gets shot in the head, and then the news anchor at the end is like, we're hoping any second now to get the feed back from inside the train to see what's happening. So yeah, they were seeing it on actual TV.
That's right.
It's like, there's no way.
Yep. Well, the camera gun has Wi-Fi.
Yes, well.
Yes, well.
And one of the news anchor guys says, if the bomb had gone off, there would be radiation poisoning and burns and eventually cancer. And it's just like, for some reason, that line just like struck me so much. It's just like, and eventually cancer.
Well, it's like oblivion. Like, it would, like, all would be destroyed to oblivion. Like, is there like another kind of destroyed? Like, it's destroyed to like partial oblivion, or like what?
I think destroyed is pretty major. I think.
Yeah, like the fact it was destroyed at all. Like, that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, and they make such a big deal. Patrick Stewart in his opening narration is like, he needed 2 bombs to change the course of world events. I think if you set off 1 nuclear bomb, that's still going to affect world events in a pretty major way. 2 it would be maybe a bigger disaster, but it's still gonna have some effect.
Well, the thing is, it's like, granted, yeah, you only really need one, but I hate it when people talk about I have the bomb. You know, like when they mention it so simply like that, it's just, it always kind of gets me. It's like, you know, they could say something a little more creative or instructive, just something other than I have the bomb.
Yeah, well, they say it over and over. It's like, I've got the bomb, it's real. And what if he has the bomb? How do we know if he has a bomb? It's a bomb. 2 bombs on. And yeah. And in this case, it's not like people saying the bomb as if it's like you're supposed to know by that it's nuclear. It's just like they just keep saying it. It's like the bomb, just over and over and over and over.
Yep. I don't know. Like after a point, like I get tired. It's like, oh, well, there's a bomb, whatever. It's like, but it's nuclear. But it's like it's like, okay, as an American, you know, if it was here, I'd be worried about it. But it's over in, another country, so I'm less worried about it. And so it's like this being like a film, like I guess this is supposed to be an American-based film. Well,
it was made for TV for USA, for the USA network. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, I guess they could have done something a little bit different, Like they could have had it where there was like some form of confrontation between some countries or whatever, and this would have made it worse. Just something.
Yeah. And that guy, he's got that big speech about the, you just need someone to hate, and like the bringing, actually, no, that's 2 different things, because that's the mercenary guy. But it's just there's so much of that in a lot of these they do it in several different James Bond movies, even where they're like trying to bring back the Soviet Union because it was great. It's like nobody really, like, there wasn't like a real war or anything. It just sort of collapsed on its own. No one is to blame, really, from the outside. And but it's like, we must bring it back. It's like, that's not a good idea because it failed. So what do you want?
A better train movie? Yeah, that is what I want. I want a better train movie.
I mean,
like a movie where the train has character.
What would that be?
I don't know. Like,
what do you mean? Like, do you want like the train is a character, or?
Well, you can have inanimate objects be a character without them turning into like something Pixar makes. Just saying. Like have it where like the train does stuff that no one can explain, like start to fly off somewhere and then take the bomb into space, and then it wouldn't matter, and then we'd just be like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it's
this movie's not good.
It's not, but it's not even like it. There's like action happening, but it's just dull.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's business dull. Like, I'm just like, what? And it's not even that long. It's like an hour and a half long. I'm like, this is still going on? But it's not like, bang on the... There's nothing to like yell about, really. It's just like, that was just not good. And it was just dull and like stupid and...
Other than them trying to chase the train down and getting shot at, like the entire movie was incredibly one-sided. It's just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they did it, and it was like flawless. Like everything just seemed so one-sided. Like there was no real need for like the whole idea of drama wasn't there because there was nothing to have drama about.
Yeah. Well, and it never seemed like they had any reason to have not just taken over the train yet. Because like the gas kind of didn't work, and then they kind of got shot at, and then they kept doing stuff and then just backing off when they didn't really have to. And I mean, they could have just like dropped down on the train and just disconnected the rear car that had the bomb, because, or something. Just, you could have done something. Probably it's not that big a train.
Nope.
I mean, eventually they thought of it's probably triggered from somewhere else, so we have to be careful. But then they just completely ignore that and just go right into the train and shoot everybody.
Well, I mean, even on that, it's like they talk about we can get on it and deactivate it so it can't be remotely, activated. Like, you'd think you would do that anyways and then not tell them about it, but they didn't do it.
No. Well, I don't know. Was that something that they could really do, or was he just doing that to convince him to give up?
Well, that's the thing is, I don't know. It's not like they made it like, oh, well, I'm going to bluff him and tell him we can, but we can't. Like, it's like he just said that they could and there was nothing else to it. It's just like, we can help save you if you just kind of surrender, and, Romania or whatever will let you go free. And it's just like, no. And then they never go back to it because it's like the idea of it exploding anywhere doesn't matter until they get to the tunnel and that plan fucks up.
Yeah, because they're like,
but they still shoot people.
It'd still be bad, but it could be. Yeah, and that they come walking down the tunnel, and there's so much light on them that you assume is from the train. The lights on the front of the train, and they're just like there, and no one sees them. And then that dude just like starts to shoot and ruins everything. And
well, see, I think that was one of the guys that was
that was the guy that was in on it.
I want to say that was him.
Didn't he get shot, though? Or was he the guy who's like flak jacket? Like, was that guy, so he was okay?
Maybe. I don't know. That was the part that I didn't pay too much attention to, was like the whole bullshit that proceeded to the guy just randomly shooting while they were... It's like, we're going to do something covert. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, oh, there's people, shoot at them. And then stuff was being shot at. And it's like, now I'm getting bored with this.
Yeah. And right there, they let them get away again. And nobody checked to... They had the Italian army coming in. Why was the Italian army late? Just so we could make a joke about how Italians are late? Which I didn't even know was a thing. Is that a thing?
Well, I don't remember the whole idea of Italians being late being a thing either, but... That was something that was mentioned, like what they said, like, oh, the Italians, because they're late. And that's when they cut to the scene where you see Scaramanga get onto the helicopter and fly off.
Yeah, well, that was the train. That wasn't they did eventually get there because that was the truck of military guys that was parked at the end of the tunnel when the train got there.
But other than that, I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Italians would be late.
It was just strange. They did that several different times, I think, with different... They make a big point out of different countries. It's like German craftsmanship and late Italians and these ex-Russian guys are with us. And
I want to know, why... okay, I can understand that German engineering is supposed to be... But they never show anything about German engineering actually messing up in a timely manner. Yeah, it's
I guess it was fine. I mean, that bomb was fine, the one that was real.
Well, no, and that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about because normally you'll have movies and the machine will supposed to be operating correctly, and it'll just so happen to fail at the perfect time to be cliche for the film, and the film can keep going because the machine messed up perfectly. But it's it's never a German machine that ever messes up. If they make a point about the fact that it's German, it always works. I'm just because it's a German made machine of any kind does not mean it doesn't stop working. Their stuff messes up too.
Yeah.
And it's just that's something I want to see. I want to see somebody make a big deal about this is made by Germans and it's perfect, and then it mess up perfectly. It's well, I guess the German engineering isn't that great now, is it? America. Now, how far did this train actually go? Because I didn't see them stop for anything other than the random, we're going to kill a hostage, or we're going to pick this up, or we need a doctor, or any this like that. Did the train ever have to refuel for anything?
There was a line about it. He said, we're going to be fine. And he said, well, at this rate, we'll be fine to Istanbul, which actually wasn't far enough, because when Patrick Stewart is figuring it out, looking at the map, he figures out they're going to go to Iraq and I guess blow up the oil or something. Or, well, no, it turns out that there was Oh yeah, because that he makes a big speech into the video camera. Christopher Lee does about what his plan is, which I don't understand why he does that either. But he's looking at the map, and then it's like, okay, there's Turkey and there's Istanbul, and then like a good piece further than that is Iraq. So the only time we hear the fuel mentioned, he's like, "Oh, we're doing on fuel." And he's like, "Well, we find Istanbul." It's like, okay, fine. But they go most of the way across Europe.
Yeah,
because they go from Germany through Italy, and where it's they go quite a long way.
Yeah, like that's some good fuel efficiency, I guess. But it's like they like that's something like never having to stop for fuel until the train explodes, and after that, then trade doesn't need any more gas. And when now I don't remember when they said it. Like I'm trying to remember if it was on the radio or if it was on the news or what. But someone said "death train" in the movie twice.
Yes,
and,
they did.
And
they said it on the news.
And the thing is, it sounded like it was actually the guy that did the trailer. Like that's what it sounded like. It sounded like him. And I'm like, did they just take that clip and like replay it for within the movie? The death train.
Yeah, I remember noticing that, and it was pretty early because it was before. It was actually before they even knew that that the bomb was nuclear. Just that the guy said he had a bomb, and there were hostages or whatever. He's like, the death train moving across the. Yeah, it did sound like the guy.
You know what we need to do? We need to do that's the thing is like people who watch this movie before you start watching it, grab some buddies. Grab some beer, and every time you see someone get shot, someone say something stupid, or show you the train from the front, take a drink. It'll be the best movie ever. Because you'll just drink through the entire thing. Like, that's all it'll be.
So now that we've said that we don't care a bunch of times, how much do we actually care?
For caring or not caring, I'm like, I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5. And I'm giving it a 2 because I have seen much, much worse. If I had to watch it again, I probably would, but it's not going to be by choice. Like, it's going to be like someone's going to be like, hey, this has Pierce Brosnan in it. I like Pierce Brosnan. And he's like, should we watch it? And I'm going to go, dude, you don't want to watch that. It's like, but it's a train movie. Like, yeah, it's a train movie, but you're not. All right. I warned you. And I'll sit down and suffer through it again. But yeah, it could have been worse.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is it's not like offensively bad. It's just like, I mean, yeah, I was, yeah, it didn't really even make me angry or anything at it. It was just like, So, I guess I'll say 2 stars also. Well, that's all we have to say about Death Train. We'll be back next week. We'll see you then.
Later.